Hi guys, today I'm at a very unique event. It's the Southern Group Motoring Writers Heritage Event here at Bewley in Southampton, where the National Motor Museum is, an incredible place in itself. And we are here with, you can see a couple behind me. I'm going to just do a walk around. We are here with some incredible classic cars. You can just see behind me there. Look at that. There's a Vauxhall, Citroen, Chevy truck. Check that out. And some more cars on this side as well. And the idea is today that we get to drive some of these incredible machines. It's a rare opportunity to have a go in some, look at that, Mark 1, MR2, NSX, S2000, there's a Wrangler. If I can swing around the other way, you've got Citroens, CX, BX, and so we get to drive some of these cars, try them out. Oh, and over there's a Capri. I mean, honestly, I have a list of cars that I want to drive. I don't know what I'm going to be able to do, but yeah, it should be really interesting. I am in a 1975 Vauxhall Firenza HP Droop Snoot. Now this car is from 1973, 2.3 litre slant 4 engine. The first car, the first Vauxhall, Opel Vauxhall, to crack 0 to 60 at 0 to 92 kilometers per hour in less than 10 seconds. Only 200 of these were made. Well, it's got that snoot thing, so actually it's got this aerodynamic front end based on the Magnum Coupe. First Vauxhall to have a 5-speed gearbox. Got a dogleg first on there, so that should be interesting. And didn't really get too far because of industrial disputes, looming fuel crisis, all the rest of it. So only 200 cars were ever made. This car was bought by Vauxhall here 10 years ago, and they fully restored it. So 9.4 seconds, they say, 131 brake horsepower. Should be interesting. So let's give it a little bit of a drive. So this is literally the first time I am driving this. So let's go. There we go. Here we are. Yeah, it's moving all right. It's moving all right. Yeah. Here we go. So let me turn the lights on. Wipers are working. We are in second gear. So here we go. We're now motoring and in third gear. You know, the gear is very clunky, but actually very precise. Like, you know exactly what gear it's in, and changing it. The clutch is a little bit on the heavy side from compared to modern cars, but let's try. Oh, I don't know if that's fourth. Is that fourth? Yeah, I think that is fourth. I was gonna say, I said it was very precise, and then suddenly the last plane was a little bit more difficult. But certainly first to second, second to third, no issue at all. Now brakes, as you can imagine on the older cars, the brakes are a little bit more, you have to put a little bit more effort into it. That is definitely fourth gear. So, nice change back down into third, no problem. Small steering, of course, doesn't appear to have power assistance, but not too heavy, not too much of an issue. Certainly I can feel everything, a lot of vibration. Little white wipers trying to do their best to keep the rain off the windscreen. It's a very rainy day here, unfortunately. It's a real shame because we've got some nice roads and some amazing cars. But you know what? It's very easy to drive, and it doesn't feel like, you know, it's too antiquated or too old or anything like that. Performance is pretty decent, actually. Good mid-range pull punch, so not an issue. Getting quite a lot of rattle. That vibration rattle is from the gear lever here. I don't know if just the loose linkage or maybe the knob itself. So let's try fourth again. There we go. Oh, it's not too bad. Got that in. And yeah, I mean, not bad at all. And you can really see the appeal of this car. Okay, so the brakes, yeah, you have to really think about brakes on these old cars, of course. But they're not too bad, though. I mean, I'm saying that, but they're not too bad. I mean, you know, the trouble is jumping out of a modern car into a classic car, you always have to realign your expectations a little bit in terms of how the car feels and how it drives. But if you think of it from the point of view of the 1970s, I mean, actually, it's driving really, really well and no issue whatsoever. Very easy to place, very small car. It's a good-looking car. This it's like a mini muscle car. It's sort of the, you know, of that sort of era, the 70s era. Take an American car, but sort of shrink it down a little bit, and that's what this looks like. Apart from the front of the car, which is very sloped, which is a little bit unusual, but that's particular to the Droop Snoot, which is this car. Don't need to do anything, double the clutch or anything like that. It's generally fine. Wow, it does actually pull really well, and it's now really beginning to, and despite the rain and everything, and you know, no safety systems, no nothing like that on this car, but I'm beginning to really enjoy this car. This is amazing. Steering is lighting out, getting really quite light now, and actually still very, you know, not as much play. I mean, yes, of course, a little bit play for an old car, but not as much play as you might think. You know, but reasonably feel-some, not too bad at all. You know, a little bit of an understeer thing there going on, but it is a little bit wet, so I'm a bit hesitant to really, you know, push the car at all. It's quite slippery out here, but astonishingly good and very capable. No issues at all, straight line. Just slowing down. They did say just be careful of hitting any undulations, it gets a little bit lively, but so far so good. No issues with aquaplaning. A lot of wind noise coming through here, as you'd expect, and vibration, but not too bad, not bad. You know, you think maybe it should be quite rattly and noisy, but not anywhere near what you think it would be. So actually not bad at all. Let's try for fifth, because we're doing some decent speed now. And it's been a hoot. It's fantastic. It's wonderful. I could see myself living with this. This is great. Got a lot of style, a lot of character, and drives really well. So I'm going to try a U-turn here. So there you can see, this is when you can see that the steering is quite heavy. But, you know, on the move, it's like old cars. On the move, it's okay. You know, once you realize that you've got to put the effort in when you're moving rather than when you're stationary, it's not too bad. You just got to just readjust your thinking a little bit. The gear change and clutch, honestly, is actually really good. The clutch is a bit on the heavy side, but no issues whatsoever. Actually, really like it. I like this. Hey guys, so we're here in a 1977 Ford Capri 1600L, and it says here, the car you always promised yourself. And it's interesting that it says that, it's a 1969, because it is a car that I promised myself. I was actually saving up at one point to buy a 2.8 Capri, a later model than this, and I never got around to it because I got distracted by a Supra. And so I never fulfilled my dream of driving one, so this is an opportunity at last to do that, because I didn't buy one. But this is a 1977, let me read what it says on here. 17 years of success, 1 million sold across UK and Europe. This was of course Europe's mini Mustang. That was the whole idea of the Capri. The 73 oil crisis didn't really help, but they pressed ahead, and this was the Mark II. Length and width of the Mark II Caprice were increased, more interior space, slimmer windscreen pillars. It's incredible how much visibility there is in these cars. Bigger windows. This one is a one-lady owner from new, really. Purchased in 1977, really drove long distances. Donated to Ford in 2005. It's got less than 25,000 kilometers on it. It's a 1.6 4-cylinder, 72 horsepower, 4-speed manual, 104 miles per hour top speed. Price when new, £1,400. Let's see if it starts up. So, nice little manual box there. It's in neutral. Keys are in here. Let's see. Straight away. Very, very nice. That's a very little gearbox, isn't it? Very, very small. Yeah, feels pretty good actually. So let's see if that. Oh, there you go. That's reverse. I'm going to reverse out of here. Hopefully that's okay. That's the way to do this. Oh, very light steering, because not power assisted obviously, but not an issue. Okay. Here we go. And should figure out where the wipers are just for the heck of it, and maybe the light switches as well. Okay. Indicators on the other side of the car I just drove. So that's interesting. The first thing that comes to mind with this car is that it's such an easy car to drive. I keep saying that about old cars because there's always this perception that old cars are difficult to drive, especially because modern cars are so easy now. They've just made them so simple. And some old cars are, let's be honest. But you get something like this, and yeah, okay, you have to allow a little bit of extra for the level of grip. The fact that the steering is not assisted, the braking is not assisted, or in most cases, and you have to, you know, think a little bit further ahead, especially in these wet conditions that we're in today. But overall, the point is that actually they're basic, they're simple, they're straightforward, and they do exactly as you expect them to do. Now this steering is bigger than the one I was just driving a minute ago. The braking is a little bit spongy. You have to really go all the way down to get it to really grip. But once you kind of understand where that biting point is, it's not too bad. The ride is brittle. It's brittle, but it's not too bad. We're not talking a lot of power here compared to some of the other cars. It is only a 1.6, but enough to get motoring, that's for sure, enough to keep it moving. And the steering is big, it's very light. Not power assisted obviously, but once you're on the move, it's actually really, really light. Let me get these wipers working again, there we go. And you can feel that the car at the front, you do feel that long nose ahead of you. So you are aware, let me just punch it down. So what gear are we in now? So we're in third gear. And yeah, I mean, it's making a lot of noise. Maybe not as much acceleration as you might expect. But enough, it gets going, that's for sure. And so every time I turn these wipers off, they stop in a different position. So the thing to do is to actually catch them when they're down like that, and then turn it off, because then they stay where they're supposed to. They don't return to the lowest point. So little idiosyncrasies and little things that you start to learn about old cars when you drive them. So again, good ride, actually a very good ride, and actually surprisingly refined for an old car. Because yeah, okay, there's a little bit of rattle and stuff, but not as much as you would expect. The wipers are all over the place again. And quiet too. I mean, not a lot of wind noise. I mean, we're not doing a great deal of speed, honestly, but not a lot of wind noise. Not much road roar either, actually. Very quiet. Quiet. I mean, surprisingly refined. So this is a car that you have to really think about the corners, clearly. That long nose, you do have to think about coaxing it into the corner. You know, it's a rear-wheel drive coupe. The 2.8 was a bit of a muscle car. This doesn't feel like a muscle car, honestly. It doesn't feel like we're talking an oversteery sort of car. It does feel like something that you have to just be a little bit careful about in terms of where the front is and what it's doing. But we're getting up to a bit of a decent speed now. Again, the ride is very good. It's a little bit choppy, so it's a little bit all, you know, bouncy a little bit, but generally very well composed, not too bad at all. But remarkably easy to drive, and yeah, fantastic. Nice dashboard. I like this wooden dashboard, very period in here. Visibility all round is fantastic, like I said, because of these thinner pillars. The bonnet, just looking at that long bonnet head is so evocative, and it's just so nice to be able to enjoy this view of sitting in a Capri looking down that long bonnet, because that's what it was all about. Something that I failed to do the first time round, which I had hoped to do. So what a fantastic experience, what an absolute joy to drive this car. 4-speed transmission on the car, so I'm in top gear already, and that's pretty much it. But yeah, really, really good. Nice, very nice indeed. Punch it a little bit. No wheel spin, no misbehaving at all. But making quite a lot of noise, bringing up momentum. Not too bad. Oh, that's it. So I'm going for a 5th gear. There is no 5th gear. It's only 4. That's it. It could do with a 5th gear, honestly. So a little bit of waywardness at speed, but as you would imagine, I mean, the sort of generation of car that it is. But we're doing a decent speed, so it's not too bad at all. So yeah, really, really good. What an amazing experience. What an absolute delight to finally be behind the wheel of a Capri, a Ford Capri. Oh my God, I wish I had bought that 2.8. You know, it's not too late. I think I might hit the classifieds later. So I've been out in this Honda NSX. It's the later one. It's the one where they got rid of the pop-up lights and they put the fixed lights on it. And manual gearbox, of course, the way it should be done. And not so much because I haven't driven an NSX before, I have. But you know what? Any opportunity to drive an NSX, you got to take it, right? So I took it out for a bit of run. And even though the roads are quite wet, we did get to open it up a little bit. And it's just phenomenal. It's incredible. You drive one of these things and you realize just how far ahead of the time Honda actually was with this car. It's so easy to drive. It's so easy to drive quickly. And the thing about it is that it's so confidence inspiring, even in these wet conditions, which to be honest leave me a little bit nervous. And you think, like, you know, it's not not twitchy, it's not fidgety, it's very well settled, it's very refined, the ride is really good. But the performance, I mean, it's just never ending. The curve is just solid, you know, and the higher you get, the more it seems to have. It's just absolutely incredible. But what an experience, what a joy, what a good looking car, and still such a special thing. So underrated, these NSXs, but I think in time people will start to realize the true importance and the value of these cars and what they actually meant, especially in terms of a historical context when it comes to Japanese car industry. So amazing, what an experience. I'm so glad it came today. So I am in a Honda Civic Type R. I've been looking forward to driving this for quite a while, and I finally got hold of it. It's going to be a very brief drive, but this car is quite weird because it's actually done up from the outside. Now, first thing is, where the hell is the starter button? Here we go. So it's on the right side. It's done up like a touring car from the outside. So, but it isn't a touring car. It's a standard Honda Civic Type R. So absolutely feels very tight. It's a new car, obviously, but it feels extremely tight, very rigid, very solid. I think particularly after the fact that so far I've driven old cars. I mean, even the NSX. I drove an NSX just now, you know, which is recent but not completely modern. But this car just feels so stiff, so rigid. The ride is as you would expect on a Type R. It is quite rigid. It's quite fidgety. You're feeling every single undulation, bump, ridge in the road. You can actually, you know, it's all happening. But it's not leading to a kind of waywardness. It's just that you feel the car moving constantly. There's a lot of movement in this car. But the grip is very good. I mean, we're in wet conditions, unfortunately. It's raining all day today. Hasn't stopped so far. At least it's not as bad as it was for a while, but it's still raining. But it seems to be very grippy. Brakes are spot on, I mean, like instant, so no issues there. So 6-speed transmission on this, but I think it's third, and is it third? No, it's not, it's fourth, and it was very tractable fourth, even at low speed. So 2,000 RPM, and it's still, you know, easily picking up speed. So, wow, I mean, that's a, you know, I mean, again, the engine personality has been changed from the old high revving naturally aspirated. I wonder if this one is a high revving motor as well. It should do, because it's a Type R. I mean, it's kind of what you expect from a Type R, don't you? Here we go. Now, proper series of S-bends, really nicely responsive, very grippy at the front. No hint of understeer at all. I mean, yeah, you can sense that it's a front-wheel drive car, but no hint of understeer, that's for sure. Like I said, the brakes are fantastic, the grip is good. It's quite a subdued sound, if I'm honest. I mean, I expect, let's see if I can, let's go up to 7,000 RPM. Gets a little bit fidgety, the grips, you know, you start to feel the grip going a little bit there, but nice downshifts, a little bit of understeer there. It's really, but the thing is, it's understeer in a sense that you can feel the wheels just moving, but they're not moving the car. You just sense that, okay, there's a little bit of a pull, but actually it's going to be okay. Wow, okay, now I'm getting this car. But you have to really motor it, and then you start to feel what it can do, and why it is the legend that it is, you know. Not the Honda legend, of course. If you see what I mean there. So you get wheel spin. Boy, do you get wheel spin. Because it is wet and it is slippery, but it's very well controlled. I mean, there was no push and pull at the wheel, so they have really managed to keep a very solid linkage between the steering and the wheel, but not something that's kicking back and, you know, disturbing you or intimidating you in any way. Wow, 6,500 RPM. So you don't need to open it up to all the way to 7 or 8. You get plenty of torque straight away from around 3,000 RPM. You've got a pretty good amount of dollop of torque, I would say. Incredibly quick car, but also very entertaining to drive, very enjoyable to drive, but also not an intimidating car, honestly. Wow. And now the sound, now you start to, so it's kind of, you know, it's a Jekyll and Hyde sort of car where, you know, I guess around town you could be driving it around and it would be unobtrusive, and even from inside the car, you wouldn't be feeling that it's anything other than a regular Civic. And then when you come out here and you start to push it, you're like, whoa, okay, so this is actually what it's about, and this is actually what it does. So, wow, what a thing. Here we go. This is great. So there you go. There's been a very quick drive of the Civic Type R. What a machine. Absolutely love it. Would love to get it back again and have more of a go in this car soon. So a couple more things to add to the Honda thing. One thing I found is that heel and towing actually is very easy in this car. So I often find it quite difficult because you really have to sort of move your ankle in a weird way. But for example here, it's very easy actually. And then the other thing I would add is that, yeah, I want one. I would live with this. I think it's really, really good. Still not 100%, you know, sold on the looks of the car. I still think it's very, very fussy, but the livery on this car does kind of hide all of that. But other than that, wow, what a machine. Look at this, the tiniest startup key I've ever seen. You can see what it's attached to. I am in a Peugeot 205 GTI. Now, this is about as original as you can get, except that it's not, because they actually put in an MI6 engine from the 405 Peugeot 405 MI16, I think it was, engine that was in that car. They put that into this one. They had to put a slightly bigger bonnet. I think they got out of the diesel version to do that, but otherwise the car looks identical to how a 205 GTI would have looked. It's got the steering, it's got this black on red, it looks gorgeous. I'm going to start it up now. Now, I always love these. Cool, start up straight away. So good about these cars, manufacture, maintain, they look after them, they're really, really good. And I never got round to actually driving these at the time, you know, when they were really, really popular. So this again is another one of those dream come true cars, you know, this is another one of those, you know, off the bucket list. I've always wanted to try one of these and finally getting a go in it. Let's do this. There are rear wipers, I wonder how they work. Ah, there you go. Because it is still raining, unfortunately, kind of spoiling the fun a little bit. Not too much though, I'm still managing to enjoy myself here. I have to say, first impressions, I always read about these cars being quite light and flimsy and rattly, and truth be told, they are. And especially considering I've driven some 70s cars, I've driven a couple of cars from the 70s, and honestly they felt tighter than this one does. But having said that, everything works, and it's all good and not an issue. At slow speeds it's uncomfortable a little bit, this car, probably because it's been tuned up and stuff. So through the gears it's like you have to, you know, play a little bit with first and second to keep it smooth. But now that we're out here and we're on the go, it's transforming, and you're starting to feel like, you know, I'm a little bit of play in the wheel, but okay, nice turning. Yeah, all right, that's pretty good. I'm starting to feel this car a little bit now. Okay, remember it's very wet, very slippery, unfortunately today. The brakes are actually very well set up on this car. You know, no need for any extra effort or anything like that. They seem to work very well, and quite intuitive, as you would expect them to work. Performance, okay, we're getting going now. What gear are we in? Let's go into fourth. Ah, here we go. There it goes. It's moving a bit now. Actually, it's plentiful performance. Now, these are old cars, slim tires. Got to be mindful of that. But really, you know, no issues so far. Feels very responsive. Bit of road roar going on, bit of vibration. Certainly something that you really feel this car. You really feel a lot of what's actually happening mechanically with this car. Keeping it in fourth, and actually pulls really well in fourth gear. I'm surprised. I thought I'd have to change down into third, but nah, not at all. I'm quite tempted to go up a gear. I think I will. Yeah, fifth gear. So the gearbox is very French. Short throw, reasonably precise, a little bit rubbery, as they often are, but otherwise not bad. Steering, heavy at low speeds, but lightened up now, and actually very little play, quite responsive. The car is set up very well. I'm not, I mean, of course, I'm not pushing it too hard, but I'm not detecting much understeer. Let's go down into third and see how we do. Not too bad. Clutch is not too bad at all. Oh, very boomy car. Picking up speed now. We're doing about 60 at 3,500 revs in fourth. Let's go into fifth. Very nice. The ride actually is not too bad. It's one of the good things about French cars. They've always got the ride very well. So there's a lot of movement. It's an old car. It's a bit bouncy. But if you think about it, it's not knocking you about too much. It's not upsetting you too much. It's just basically riding the road and keeping the car stable. Quite a few rattles and squeaks in this car, as I mentioned already. You know, you have to give it that much. But they were always like that, to be honest. They were always, I think even when they were new, that I remember reading about things like that. So that's no real surprise. But right now, driving this car now, this is, you know, a bit of a legend, really. And to get to be able to do this is absolutely fantastic. Feels really good. So let's go down this road here and see how it does there. Oh, good positioning on the pedals. Oh, maybe need a second here. Oh, quite, yeah. At slow speed, the steering really gets a bit heavy. So there you go. Oh, nice. Now we're motoring, and now it's really coming together. But yeah, so the pedals are actually set up for heel and toe. Need a bit of practice, but you can actually do it. So let's try now. Oh yeah, nice. Yeah, you can do it. Very good indeed. They're ideally placed, same sort of height, and not too far apart. Oh, very good. Good turning, good response. Wow. Now that I'm doing this, I'm really getting this car. I'm really enjoying it. And quite a boomy engine, so it encourages you to keep maybe changing up earlier than maybe you need to. But because of the nature of the engine, I feel that I need to. It's not like, it doesn't feel like it's a revvy unit. It feels like it's quite a boomy, lusty unit. But then remember, this is a different engine in this. But yeah, I'm up into fifth already. But the brakes are very good. In an old car, considering, you know, they're very responsive, very well set up. No, this is really good actually. Now that I'm doing this, it's really coming together. It feels so much tighter out here doing this. There you go. Wow. This is amazing. What a privilege to be. Oh, nice. So now that we're really motoring, you can start to feel it, and even in these slippery conditions, it's really good, and it's actually really enjoyable. You can immediately see the appeal of this car and what it meant to a lot of people at the time, and it was right up there with the Golf GTI, pretty much, you know, as you know, a template for hot hatches and how hot hatches should be. So absolutely marvelous, wonderful. What an absolute treat and a joy to be able to drive this car. So I finally had a go in the Suzuki Jimny, the car that's really sort of captured everybody's imagination, and it does look absolutely terrific. Great style, great size, looks the par, and I'm sure that off-road is probably an amazing vehicle. On-road less so. It feels a bit like a Wrangler. It's kind of, you know, you have to work hard because the suspension, you can feel that it's more set up for off-roading. So that's where it kind of, you know, you need to know what you're getting into, especially if you're going to do longer trips in it. I should imagine that being the size and the type of car that is around town, it's probably okay. And certainly, you know, at lower speeds and stuff, it feels very comfortable. But press on a little bit, and you feel like, yeah, it's a tall, narrow vehicle, and you do feel that. But overall, so charismatic, so utterly cool, and very easy to drive. Good ride, not too bad at all. Yeah, really good. Recommended.
Lively, I have to say.
Hey guys, we're in the Toyota Supra, the new Supra, and as Chris said, it's quite lively. So this is Chris Reese from Auto Italia?
From Auto Italia.
Yeah, Auto Italia. And we are out in the pouring wet. We've got 335 horsepower behind the rear wheel. I've just been out in this car, I've driven it up to there, and it's quite an astonishing car. It does have a very BMW feel to the interior. You can't help but feel that it's very BMW. It's also very, it's kind of like a muscle car. It feels very much, as you can see there, we're squirming around. You're having too much fun. But it's got that muscle car sense to it. A lot of power going to the rear wheels. It's a grand tour. You feel like it will eat up miles very quickly at speed, and it will cruise very easily at high speed. So, Chris, first impressions?
Well, yeah, it's quite lively, as I said. The back end.
You didn't quite get the full pendulum there, so
No, I've still got the traction control on there. On a wet surface, it's quite fun.
Yeah, it is extraordinary. There's a lot of power, a lot of torque, very lively thing, but also very sedate, very calming. You can easily cruise around in this car, and I think that's what they've gone for. But very much got that muscle car tendency as well. So yeah, awesome to have a go in the new Supra. So I am in a Citroen CX. What year is this?
That's right, it's a 1988.
1988, and you are?
George Antonio.
This is your car.
It is.
And you're foolishly letting me have a go in it. That's pretty awesome. And we started it up, but we're now waiting for, or is it done now? It sounds like it's done.
It's pretty much done, yeah.
Right,
so
right.
Basically the rear has lifted up and the front has lifted up, so
right.
we're good to go now.
So we're waiting for the hydrodynamic suspension to come up. And okay, so this is a, 5-speed gearbox.
That's right.
So she can back out
That's
from
it.
Here. Yeah. Let's hopefully, is there a handbrake?
Yeah, handbrake there.
Right, okay, so let's, Oh, okay, that's a very short, the clutch on this is quite a short travel.
It is,
so that's interesting. Okay, yeah, so here we go, we're moving. It's pretty good. Okay, oh, I've just pulled, this is the cover for the,
let me take that off so it's
the
out
cover for the stereo. The stereo is in a very odd position.
It really is, yeah, it was a bit of an afterthought by the looks of it.
So the rear, is that how it was, or have you put a tint on it, or what?
That is a Citroen accessory that was available at the time.
Well, now where are the, see, being a Citroen, like all the bits it's like suddenly having to relearn stuff. So where are the, so wipers are here.
So wipers are there.
So just do that, yeah?
That's it.
Oh, one wiper blade.
One wiper blade.
Cool. That's kind of cool.
The indicators are not self-cancelling.
And where are they?
The indicators are up here.
These two here.
Yeah,
we need a yellow thing, don't we?
That's all right. It's giving us the thumbs up. So you've got to remember to cancel them. The other thing that I should have pointed out to you is the steering wheel is a system called Diravi.
Okay.
It's also on the Citroen SM as well. And what that means is the steering self-centers. So don't just let go of it, because it will.
It will immediately spin back, will it?
It will immediately spin back, yeah.
It is a okay, you got to cancel the indicator. The indicator is a toggle switch on the top of the binnacle here. It's quite interesting.
Yeah.
And it's a single spoke steering.
Correct.
Which is very weird, because there's literally like nothing in it. It's like a hollowed out steering with just one spoke that comes right down at you.
Correct.
With the word turbo on it. This is back when turbo was like a really big thing, wasn't it?
Right,
it's got a turbo.
That's it.
This is pretty awesome. So you were saying about the steering?
So the steering, when you come to a stop, if you turn the steering wheel full lock and then let go and just see what happens.
So if I turn it, okay, so should I do that now?
Yeah, do that now.
So
So full lock.
The full lock, okay.
Oh, that'll
let go.
do.
It just spin. That's like a ghost has just taken over the steering. That's really weird. That is really funny. So it's just like it just spun its way all the way back round again by itself. Like somebody else was doing the steering. And this is way beyond the era of autonomous cars and autonomous driving systems and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that is quite extraordinary. But Citroen were always, back when Citroen was kind of doing this sort of stuff, they were always cutting edge, weren't they? They were always trying to do stuff before anybody else had even thought about it.
That's it, yeah, exactly.
Oh, what's come off now?
Yeah, this
Something else has come off. There you go. so far I've taken the cover off the stereo and now I've taken the cover off the dashboard. I think a bit of blue tack should hold that.
A bit of blue tack, yeah, it always comes in handy when you're in an old car.
So I hope that's okay, yeah?
No, that's fine.
Yeah. So we're just trying to find a gap in the traffic here. Is it clear on that side? It's all misting up now.
Yeah,
there you go. So here we go, let's... Oh, got a bit of poke, hasn't it?
Got a bit of poke.
Yeah.
We can't push it too much because I've got a problem with the knock sensor at the moment.
Alright.
Which I'm slowly getting to the bottom of. But yeah, like you said, it's got a bit of poke. It was Citroen published the horsepower to be around 168.
Right. Oh,
But
that's plenty back in the day.
That's plenty back
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
day,
yeah,
but
yeah.
a lot of people say actually they were very conservative with the number, and actually it's more.
Oh,
So
right.
there was a guy
Interesting.
with a stock one that had it on a rolling road, and
Uh-huh.
it reached 190. So
This was back then or now?
now recently.
Now?
Yeah, yeah.
But that's
yeah.
really weird because over time engines lose horsepower.
Yeah, you'd think, but
Yeah.
you know, there's so many enthusiasts now that look after these cars,
Uh-huh.
and you know they're running so well, and they're putting so much money into making sure that they're in tip-top condition.
So the first impression is the ride is obviously very, very good on this car. It's very smooth, very serene. There's a little bit of a wonder, just a little bit wonder, but I think it might actually just be this guy. There's a bit of play in the steering, but the ride itself is extraordinarily good. It is very well planted for a car this age.
Yeah.
So it's very good, and like I said, it actually. What revs are we on there? Because it kind of seemed to just get a second. Is that when the turbo kicks in?
Yeah, it's the turbo kicks in at very low revs. It's very well
Yeah.
matched to the car. And the interesting thing is the wastegate is actually made by Volkswagen Audi Group. 'Cause
Oh, right.
Back in the day,
Yeah.
the Audi Quattro turbos were so ahead of their time.
Yeah.
That
See, like
instead
now,
of-
just then,
Yeah.
I can just feel it starting to just go away and by itself, and just
Exactly.
like I'm not even putting in that much input, and it
Exactly.
just feels like it's accelerating.
There's no turbo lag whatsoever,
Yeah,
is there?
that's amazing.
Yeah.
So and literally, like you don't even have to work the gears very hard. It's like that's it. You know, what were you in fourth, right?
That's it, yeah,
Yeah.
fourth gear.
This is actually a really easy car to drive.
It really is, and it's a very practical car to use daily. And
Uh-huh.
at the moment, I'm using this one daily, and
Oh, really?
yeah, the way I see it, it's a modern day version of the Citroen DS.
And it's comfortable in the back for passengers, and in
Comfortable
terms, yeah.
at the back. Yeah, I've been on long journeys on this car, and it can take you anywhere in comfort.
Wow. It is actually a really easy car to drive. The gear shift is fine. Once you get used to the clutch, you're okay, because the clutch has got very short
It
travel
does.
and it's quite bitey.
Yeah.
But once you get used to it, it's absolutely fine. But otherwise, yeah, it's just like a normal car. And it feels quite solid. So it gives a little bit of a lie to the whole French build quality thing, doesn't it? Because it actually feels pretty solid. There's not that, I mean, I drove the Peugeot earlier and that was rattling and squeaking quite a lot.
Yeah.
But this feels really tight actually.
Yeah, it does. You're going to hear a vibration in a bit. That's my new rear back box.
Oh, right, okay.
That hasn't been fitted properly. But other than that, no, there isn't many squeaks in it.
Yeah. And who does the work? Do you do most of the work yourself on
I
this? or-
don't actually. I've got a garage down in Welling Garden City that
Oh, right,
looks
right.
after it, but it really is a case of finding a good mechanic and sticking with them, or doing it yourself, because you can't really take these cars to a guy who just works on modern things. you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, no. They are very specialist knowledge for these, aren't they? Well, this is fantastic. Thanks so much for this. It's brilliant. What an absolute pleasure to be doing this today.
Very welcome.
Awesome.
Very welcome.
I'm now in a Mark 1 Toyota MR2. I think it's from 1988. It's an E-registration. I never drove the original MR2. I drove the last of the line one several times, and that was a great car. It was like a mini Boxster. You could just flip the roof down on it. But this one I never drove. I always had this very interesting and very suggestive gear lever there, which anyway, so that's quite nice. This car, 122 brake horsepower, 1.6 litre, 16 valve, drives the rear wheel 0 to 60 or 0 to 100 kilometers per hour, and 92 actually, 96 kilometers per hour in 8.1 seconds, 124 miles per hour top speed. So let's see what this actually feels like. You know, mid-engine, it was kind of like let's see if I can find the wipers. There you go. And I think I'll turn the lights on as well. Oh, pop-up lights! How cool is that? That was worth it. Just for the pop-up lights, that was so worth it. It was a Japanese Fiat X19, if you like. So a small, accessible, mid-engine sports car, like a mini Ferrari. And in fact, the Mark II one, the one after this, you know, was very similar to a Ferrari. It did look a lot like a Ferrari. And then of course the last one looked a lot like a Porsche Boxster. But this one, I would say looked like a Fiat X19. It had that kind of look about it. But cute, small, very compact. I mean, I feel like I'd reach out and touch those pop-up lights. That's what it feels like to me, you know. So very, very odd sensation to be in something that's sporty and this small. So we're motoring now, but we're in a bit of traffic. Gearbox already feels better now that I'm getting used to it, and I think especially when you move in and you start to make the changes a bit more deliberate, I think that's the right word to use, and then it settles in quite nicely. Steering wheel is quite big, and it sort of encroaches on my leg space a little bit here, so I'm having to go leg splayed to kind of accommodate the steering wheel. Strange, it could have done with a smaller steering wheel. It's a bit odd that. A lot of room here, I mean, you know, look at this. So very odd instrument panel here with these sort of pods that come out to here and this hood over here, and the instrumentation themselves, they feel like they're quite far away. That's how it feels like. But this car, I say the instruments feel far away, but the car itself doesn't. Like I was saying, those pop-up lights, I feel like I can reach out and just grab that pop-up light over there. Similarly, I feel like I could just reach out and grab the spoiler behind me because it's very prominent. It feels like it's right there, literally. I mean, this is a two-seater. The engine, the little compact engine is just behind me there. So it's a very compact little car. So yeah, I mean, ideal for roads and conditions, well, not conditions, but roads and the environment like this. Small roads in town, I think it'd be a great car. I can see the appeal of it immediately because suddenly you're in a Toyota, it's a reliable, dependable, well-built car, but it's a sporty thing with pop-up lights, spoiler on the back, and you feel like you're in something special. You know you're in something special because it's a mid-engine car, so immediately the appeal was right there. It made total sense. And of course, like I said, the appeal over the X19, Fiat X19, was that it's a Toyota, so it's well made and reliable, so that's good. The car feels very stable. Feels quite pointy. I guess you get this sensation of looking at those pop-up lights in front of you as sort of targeting sights, and just sort of guiding the car with those. It's quite extraordinary. I do miss pop-up lights. I had them in my old Supra. Absolutely fantastic. But it doesn't ride as low. You feel like you're sitting quite... I feel like I'm sitting on the car rather than in the car. I feel like I'm sitting upright, and the car itself doesn't actually feel that low. So it's weird because it feels like small and compact, but it feels like it's an actual car rather than say a sports car or a supercar mid-engine as you might be thinking. But performance is very good considering, you know, the power output of the car. Oh, you can heel and tow, just about, yeah, you can heel and tow. Oh, the turning is actually really good. Non-assisted steering, but responsive, you know. Yeah, nice. Oh, wow. Okay, now I'm beginning to get it, yeah. So you can actually, you know, control it with a little bit of throttle, a little bit of power. It's not a power car, but it's quite nice in the way its dynamics is set up. And this, of course, the mid-engine balance really helps it. So it doesn't feel like it feels like it's really turning into the corner and taking it quite well. So yeah, I mean, even with the power on into the corner, it is turning into the corner. It's doing really well. So yeah, really impressive. And again, despite being an old car, okay, there's a rattle from up here somewhere. I think it might be the sunroof or something. But really tight. I mean, it feels like a new car. Honestly, it doesn't have any issue whatsoever. And the pickup from the throttle is fantastic, and it's in what, 4th gear at the moment, no issues whatsoever. Going to 5th, yeah, I mean, now the gear change is very good, very precise, you know, now that you're on the move. I think it takes a little bit of getting used to. Clutch is very nicely weighted, not too heavy, but the biting point is exactly where you expect it to be. So yeah, really good. So yeah, impressed with this. I know I'm saying that about a lot of cars today on this Southern Group of Motoring Writers Heritage event where we're getting to drive some classic stuff. But it's a car that I would consider owning. I really would. It's that good.